everybody, and a good Thursday morning, I should say, Thursday morning, everybody. Meteorologist Greg Majeski back in here on the Weather Nerds YouTube channel. How you guys doing out there today? All right, it's definitely not looking bad across big parts of the nation. We've got some trouble spots. We've got some rainy areas in some spots. Still got a little heat out in the west. It looks like the monsoon's starting to back off just a little bit. We're going to go update on the tropics, and I tell you, I hate seeing this little lull right now because it really scares me to think that, someone's going to flip the switch and it's going to get really crazy out in the tropics because, we are in the heart of the season. The peak's on September the 10th. So we got a lot to get into for this update here. Get you ready for the Labor Day weekend. Are you ready? I know I am ready to get going on that. Hey, before we get going, if you're coming to this broadcast after the fact, if you could please do me a favor. If you can, please consider subscribing to the channel. Again, this is a no-nonsense weather briefing we do every day, Monday through Friday, weekdays I should say, and kind of a no-nonsense, not over the top. We're not going to scare you. We're just going to give you the straight information, give you the information you need, keep you prepared and not scared. That's what we try to do here. All right, let's go and take a look at our extremes yesterday. We had some out there. Look at that. We actually got a low somewhere in the east this time. We got 28 degrees there in West Virginia, 109 over there into out near the Mojave Desert, out there Death Valley out there, and Davis, West Virginia had the low there, 28. So definitely seeing much cooler temperatures there in the east, and we'll get a little bit of a reprieve. It looks like we got another big cold shot coming down next week. A very sharp trough coming in for next week. I'm going to show you that on the model data. Now, obviously, your eyes can't help be drawn to seeing some of these showers and thunderstorms here across Kansas and into Oklahoma, coming into Arkansas. We do have some flash flooding going on out there across Arkansas. The rain has been kind of training over the same ground, so that causes problems when the rain keeps falling over the same area. So you get a lot of heavy rainfall amounts out there. Let's look at our surface map out there this morning. Again, you can see that rain show up very nicely there across this zone in here. We also got some rain coming up in here across the northeast as well, dropping on down in here. So this will be moving on a little bit later today. Got some scattered rains out in the west. And some of that tropical moisture coming in across Southern California. That's from our old tropical system out there, kind of working its way up into that zone for today. All right, let's go look at the radar here. We'll go look at the specific rain here across areas of Oklahoma and Arkansas. Fayetteville, it's been raining there for hours. Again, this rain kind of training over the same ground. So we got numerous flash flood warnings in there. I'll show you that here in a second, but definitely causing some problems in there. Let's go ahead and check a look at some of the rainfall totals in this area just to kind of see what the radar estimates are showing up here. I just decided I was going to do this, so look at that. Oh yeah, I've got some pretty decent totals in there. Let's take a look at some of these. So we got up 4 inches here. We got there's a hot spot 6 inches up here across the extreme northeastern portions of Oklahoma. So you can see this stuff's really lining up some very high totals. There's 5.5 right there, 4 inches right there. So this is tracking through Arkansas, causing some problems for you folks. So you can see here that little maroon color shape right there. That is our flash flood warnings in there. You got some of the area. You got flash flood watches obviously in this zone right now for this morning. So again, dealing with flooding once again. It seems like a daily occurrence as we do in these briefings. So we have to deal with that here this summer. I call it this. I slugged it the summer of flood, and it's definitely been that for the most part here for big portions of the country. All right, let's go take a quick look out in the tropics right there. Ferdinand is now gone. Don't have to worry about that. It had its last report last night, but now we're watching a tropical wave out here showing 20% chance for development out there, and there are indications that we're going to see things start to bubble up out there. The pressures should start to fall here over the next week or so, and things should start to bubble up. So don't let your guard yet. We're not done with the hurricane season by far. We still got a little over 50% of the season still in front of us. So I know it's been kind of slow here lately. We had Aaron off the coast, but don't let your guard down just yet on that. All right. So looking at what's going on out there on the satellite imagery, still seeing this brownie haze out here. Still seeing some of that dust, but that wave right there is looking a little bit better. And then we got another one coming off the coast to watch here. So again, I do suspect we'll see that dust eventually slow down. It's unusual to see that kind of linger this late, but usually it kind of lets up by now. But we're going to still fight that. And then we also got to watch some areas in the Gulf as well with these frontal systems coming down. They die down in the Gulf. You always got to watch for any potential spin ups there as well. Now, over on the Pacific side, Juliet, that moisture, as we just saw, is kind of working its way up into California. It's going bye-bye, but we got a couple areas behind that we have to watch. Again, what's part of Juliet's kind of moved way up here to the north, but we got to watch these clusters in here for potential tropical depression development here over the next several days. So we'll see if we get our next named storm out there here in the near future. All right, let's look at the tropical forecast modeling here. This is European NSINS here. Again, we're going to be watching that. This next wave looks like I think it's going to stay out in the open here. But notice we're starting to see a little bit of stuff trying to show up in here a little bit. Just a little bit. Got to watch that just in case something bubbles up along an old boundary there. But we'll see if anything of this will come to fruition or not. I'm still seeing this high pressure ridge still very far off toward the west, and that weakness is still here in the east. So anything that bubbles up here, out here, and gets up to a certain latitude, it's going to get pulled and just do another hook around again. What I'm going to be looking for is, do we get anything to develop out there that is going to stay south of this and undercut, come in across the Leeward Islands, come into the Caribbean, and then make the turn up this way. That's what I'll be looking for. Right now, that next tropical wave looks like it will get pulled northward and will stay out to sea. So I'm not worried about any problems in the Gulf Coast states or on the East Coast right now. Labor Day weekend is looking good. And now we'll look ahead beyond, say, the 10th, because the hazards outlook a couple days ago was saying, the week of the 10th to the 15th, that week in there, maybe become some problems. So we're going to watch that closely here as we go deeper into the month. And obviously, we're ready and cocked and locked, ready to do some live coverage here should it come to that. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about our forecast models here. Let's first talk about our thunderstorm threat first, and then we're going to talk about where we think we're going to see that heavy rain threat. We still got that around as well. So let's look at that first before we kind of dive into the models here. We got a couple of marginal areas for severe weather here for today. So we're talking about Wichita Falls, Norman, Oklahoma, down to Texarkana, north of the Dallas area, getting over to Shreveport, and then out here in the foothills of the Rockies, out there near Denver and Pueblo. Looking at some areas in there. So the big thing will be some strong gusty winds, maybe some pockets of hail. That's going to be your problem there. Day two, again, it's kind of the foothills along the Gulf Coast there in Texas and Louisiana, seeing some areas in there, Beaumont over Lafayette. And again, out here across North Platte, Nebraska, coming down from Pueblo, coming into New Mexico, and parts of the Oklahoma and Texas Panhandle as well, going in for your Friday. How about Saturday? Let's check out day three. And day three right now just kind of showing a general thunderstorm threat for a big part of the country, but no severe weather threat just yet. Even the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, I got some thunderstorms up there as well. The Northeast and the South. So we'll watch that closely. I'm sure this may change. Wouldn't shock me if we see a marginal kind of pop up in here going into Saturday. But that's how it's looking, obviously going into our Labor Day weekend. All right, let's talk about the excessive rainfall. That's been kind of my big concern here as we continue to deal with this. We got a little pocket there in Colorado, but obviously with that rain coming down here, and when I show you the rainfall total amounts here shortly, you'll see why this is lit up like a Christmas tree. So we're talking about Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, this whole area in here. That's where the heaviest rain threat will be for today. And as we go into day two, let's look at your day two. That'll shift down to the south. So we're going to shift it down to the Gulf Coast here. We're talking about Louisiana, Mississippi, parts of Alabama, and so we're talking Hattiesburg over to Meridian, over to Alexandria. So we're looking at all this area in here. Selma's in this as well, so we'll watch that. Again, the green area is isolated, a little more pocketed, and then we also have this area over here toward New Mexico, Texas as well, dealing with the heavy rain threat out there. Again, that active monsoon continuing out there in the west. What about day three? Again, still looking at the high plains area. So I still have pockets of some flooding there with individual thunderstorms. But it looks like the southeast will back off a little bit, but still watching New Mexico and Texas over toward Abilene and Roswell, seeing the heavy rain threat going into your Saturday. So there's your 3-day outlook going into your Saturday. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about our forecast models. Let's get that ready here real quick, as we're going to be watching the intermediate model here first. We're going to be tracking, see what's going on here over the next 60 hours or so. The southeast is going to be a little bit on the wet side going into Saturday, the way it's looking. So you can see that those thunderstorm clusters kind of riding down to the south here. That's where the heaviest rain threat's going to be. The rain kind of falling over the same ground here. And some of this on Friday will kind of work its way. Friday night into Saturday will begin to work its way into North Georgia. So Saturday, North Georgia, that'll be y'all's best chance of rain will be on that Saturday there. Going on there. So that little piece of energy coming on down there. Now you guys here in the Northeast, you got this frontal system coming on in. You'll see some rains kind of moving in out there. You see that kind of going into your Thursday and kind of crossing through on Friday, kind of reinforcing shot of some cooler air there. That weak upper low disturbance has been riding up through the Rockies, still causing problems there across Montana, going over the forecast period. So I'm going to let this loop one more time. And you can kind of see again, this is the rain. Now, here's some of that tropical moisture coming in across Southern California. That was from our tropical system. That was from Juliet, kind of enhancing the rain threat across Southern California. And that kind of works its way into areas of Utah as we go through Friday and going into Saturday. So those are our hot spots. Got 3 of them in there. Southern California, right? 4. Count 4, right? Kind of coming here over the next 60 hours. All right, let's go check out your rainfall totals. Obviously, you get the big bullseye lights up like a Christmas tree there from Kansas down through areas of Mississippi. We'll zoom in on that for a second. Notice we still got these little hot pockets here across Idaho into Missouri here, getting some of the rain down here. Seeing some rain in Southern California, San Diego. This may be a little underdone. It typically does when it comes to tropical moisture coming up in there. So we'll see about San Diego getting some rain potential from that tropical system. Some thunderstorms here across portions of Iowa. Here's our frontal system bringing the rains across, obviously, New York State coming in there. Out of Canada with some rains there across areas of Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. A little rain, a heavier rain here off the coast here down near Florida. Looks like Jacksonville looking at some pretty good rains, and of course thunderstorm rains here across Florida. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit closer here across Kansas. You got some big bullseyes here, 8 inches plus. Wow, we've already seen that so far with a lot of these areas. And this will kind of continue to traverse down into Arkansas and into areas in northern Mississippi. So we're looking at some pretty good rainfall totals in here. Look at this one, 10 inches there, showing lighting up there across southern Arkansas. So some very heavy rainfall amounts, localized flooding. Again, creeks as tributary streams, they'll be all subject to quick flooding events and stuff. So the big thing I will tell folks in this part of the country, obviously, coming in Labor Day weekend, boating and stuff, just be careful out there on any of the lakes, especially into the rivers out there that may quickly rise with some of these heavy rains coming in, going into Friday. Again, this goes until 2 o'clock on your Friday. All right, let's go take a look at the temperatures. And for the most part, we're keeping summer at bay, where the extreme heat's kind of being suppressed down there across southern Texas, Arizona, interior valleys of California, seeing that. But for the most part, looking pretty good as we wrap up Thursday and going into Friday and going into the weekend. Now, we'll see temperatures begin to warm up a little bit next week. We got another decent cold shot coming down next week, so we may see a brief warm up out there in the middle of the country before that next front comes on through. But it looks like the below normal trend for the most part is going to linger straight in through about the 8th and 9th of September. It may change a little bit toward the end. It's going to really kind of be dependent on what's going out in the tropics, I think. If the tropics start getting going again as we head toward the 10th or so, then just like we saw with Aaron, you know how Aaron came up and caused a big change in the jet stream pattern, we may have to see that again. So let's see what's going on here with the overall jet stream pattern here as it kind of got this loop. And this is the European 500 anomaly map here, kind of tracking where the highs and lows and R's are setting up. Now keep in mind, remember the blues are your troughs. So this is our current situation here with this troughiness here in the east here going into this weekend. You got a little low here off the west coast as well. Watch what happens here as we go toward next week. This kind of lingers, this trough lingers in the east right through the weekend. And it kind of lingers there going into the second. So this lingering is going to keep it unsettled through the weekend. I'm not expecting a washout in the southeast, but it may keep the rain threat there. Well, look at this big trough that digs in here going to the 4th, 5th. This is a real substantial trough. I mean, wow. Very, very deep into feet. You don't usually see something like that where the jet stream is doing that kind of dive here going in toward the Friday next week. So this could bring record lows again for the areas of the Great Lakes, the Midwest, even getting into the Southeast going into next week. And I'm going to explain to you why I think that's a possibility, because it looks like the depth of this cold air looks a little bit thicker than what we saw on the last one. So as I take a look at this, I want to back this up for you again. As we go, well, again, let me track you through the weekend first. Obviously, we got the unsettled weather here across the south for Saturday and Sunday. Saturday looking the wettest here across the south for you guys down here. A little uncertain weather out here in the west, obviously, with some of that energy coming out of the Rockies. But the big story is going to be watching for this next cold front to drop on down here going into Tuesday, Wednesday. So here it comes right there. There it is right there. You see the frontal system right up in here, and this is what's going to be diving down to the south. And what I want to point out to you is you're going to notice that what we call the 540 line, that's our freezing line. There it is right there. When I see it's, we didn't see this with the last one. We're definitely seeing it with this one. That is the 540 line. That's a cold core. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, this one's got a little more punch to it than the last one did. So we'll see how this works out. This thing drops on down. They're still seeing the 540 line even coming down into Michigan and Ida, into Indiana right there. So here's our cold front on Friday coming on through. And that's going to be setting up for some chilly weather going into Friday and Saturday. It'll be interesting. The timing on this could change a little bit. Obviously, we're still about a week away, so we have to watch this closely. A little over a week away to kind of see this come on through. But it looks like we got another decent cool shot coming down here toward the end of next week. So that'll extend that below normal temperature trend here for a little while. All right, so let's look at the rainfall totals in here. Highest rainfall totals up here across the plains. Tracking this south, I think this is overdone here across Georgia. I really do. I don't think it's going to be quite that high. Basically, it's dumping like 5 inches of rain near Metro Atlanta. I'm not sure if we're going to see quite that high as far as rainfall totals there. So, but this track where that rain's coming on through, this looks like pretty reasonable to me coming down to Mississippi and into Alabama. You see the scatter rains here across the northeast, obviously, and still pretty wet, pretty dry on the west coast, except for Southern California. It's still showing about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. And again, because it's tropical moisture, could be a little underdone, just a little bit. So just watch out for that out there in Southern California. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the temperatures here. We're going to give you an update on this. Looking at the European, and the European on this, although it's showing the thickness of the cold air, I think it's underdoing it a little bit for the lows. You'll see that here in a second as I take you into next week here. So Saturday, this is your evening highs here, or Saturday. Let me back this up just a little bit, 2 o'clock. Yeah, I mean, this is Saturday afternoon. This is very nice. Look at all these 60s and 70s out here. It's hot here in Texas, the southwest interior, but most of the country for August the 30th, can't complain. Looks very nice indeed. Cannot complain about that. Let's go into your Sunday afternoon. Again, going into Sunday, again, a lot of the nation. Look at even Texas is even shrinking the 90s down here. 90s here in the southwest, but look how much of the country, 70s and 80s. Cannot complain. This is very nice indeed. Even be still a little warm up in the Pacific Northwest, but at least it's not the 90s. We got upper 80s up there. We got some upper 80s here across the south, and again, the Texas and the southwest, that's your hottest temperatures. How about Labor Day itself? So let's look at Labor Day. Let's go into Labor Day itself. There you go. Again, the southwest, we're flirting with 90 again up there into Washington State again, but a lot of 70s and 80s here across a big portion of the country. No big heat. I think that's about perfect weather for the most part, outside of the rain chances if you're in an area that's looking at some rain, but for the most part, looking pretty good through the weekend. All right, let's go look at, I want to track that cooler air shot coming down beyond that. So that's your weekend shot. So let's go ahead and take this forward again. We got a cool start out in the west there on Tuesday. I want to watch that cool front. Here it is right there. There it is right there. So this is our cool shot here coming on down here as we're going to track that green start to invade across a big portion of the country. Now, because of the depth of that cold air, I still think this is a lot of 40s in here. I mean, got quite a few here, 45, 46, 49. I think this might be a little underdone. Just thinking it's a little underdone there. On your Thursday, let's go to your Friday morning here. Look at that. That's 8 o'clock Thursday morning. Look at that big old chunk of cold air there. And then going into your Saturday here, let's go into your Friday, I should say. Friday. Look at how much of the country. Look at that. Boom. Big old low 40s in here. I think we're going to see some 30s with this as well. And this will be moving in. There's a discrepancy between the American GFS and the European as far as the timing a little bit. GFS has it coming in on Friday, like a lot of the Southeast will have that, and the European has got a little bit slower. So we'll have to fine tune the timing on exactly when the day on this cold batch coming on down, but that's what it's looking like, and that'll linger straight into next weekend. Should see some pretty good weather going in for a lot of the country going into next weekend. All right, so let's look at your climate outlook here. Again, you can obviously, from what we're seeing there, we pretty much know what this is going to be looking like. We're definitely seeing a big chunk of the country, except for the west. Obviously, the west is staying with that above normal temperatures. We saw that, especially across the Washington State. Can't get a break, but this is definitely a little bit on the cold side. Again, this is for the 2nd to the 6th. So that's that cold dump coming down there going toward next week. So that's going from there. And let's go take out the 8th to the 14th, going out a little bit further. Again, a lot of the country still looking at this cold pattern. Now, very unusual to see it kind of linger this long. It's still warm out in the west. Still seeing with above normal temperatures out here, but still looking chilly here in the country going out to the 10th of September. Now, I think beyond that, we might start to see some subtle changes just because I see the tropics are going to start getting a little more active. And when that happens, the pressure starts to fall there. We start getting high pressure to build across the country. That should allow things to warm back up. So when I see the Atlantic pressure start to fall, and that's the forecast trend here is, we'll see that change out here for the rest of the nation. We should see things begin to moderate a little bit here. Oh, I almost forgot. We got to look at our precipitation outlook. Let's look at that 6 to 10 day outlook here. Again, a lot of the country seeing above normal precipitation, except for the areas of the Pacific Northwest. You see a little brown there. And 8 to 14 day, again, either near normal or above normal for a big portion of the country. Even the Pacific Northwest gets a little wet there. Still look wet across Texas and here across the east. So looking pretty good. We got unusually cool weather we got to deal with here for a big portion of at least the first 10 days of September looking pretty cool there. And then we'll be interested to see what the second half looks like. Again, if the forecast trend is holding true, if we're going to be seeing that that ability where we're going to see the pressures lowering out in the Atlantic, we should see the pressure start to rise across the U.S. That usually means we'll see things begin to dry a little bit, not as cool. And we'll see if we get another system out there to develop. We got on the form here for this morning. We got Edith. Hey, good morning, Edith. Good to see you. Florence out there as well. Anybody else out on the chat? Good to see you guys this morning. Appreciate you guys checking out your morning update here on your Thursday. Again, Facebook, I tell you, Facebook, YouTube is definitely not showing me any love at all, man. I think I had 35 views yesterday. So my focus is really on my Facebook page right now as I'm trying to build the big thing. But I will continue to keep you up there for my loyal viewers out here to kind of watch us here and get y'all's update, get y'all ready for the upcoming Labor Day weekend. So I do appreciate you guys checking us out there. All right. Anyway, that's y'all's update for today. I got to do my local version of this report for my Facebook page. Otherwise, you guys take it easy. We'll get you ready for the weekend tomorrow for the last one. And looking forward to a 3-day weekend. I won't be doing another weather report until Tuesday. I'm going to take Labor Day off. So you guys take it easy. Be good, stay safe, and we'll talk to y'all later. See y'all tomorrow. Bye-bye.